The Nigerian Electricity Regulation Commission's new meter asset provider regulation will become effective from today in a bid to effectively bridge the over 4.74 million metering gap in the country. Sam Amadi, former chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulation Commission, joins us on the line from Lagos to discuss this story. Mr. Amadi, thanks so much for speaking to us today. What I keep hearing about this new regulation is the ability of the players to implement it. There are talks about capacity issues. Your thoughts on the significance of the regulation and where we go from here?
Thank you very much. I think the regulation is a continuity of where we stopped, because the meter crisis in Nigeria has been a very daunting challenge to the sector. And so when we came in, we had about 30 to 35% metering rate, which means more than 65 or 60% of the customers were metered. And so we rolled out a plan, and that plan consisted majorly in liberalizing, maybe bringing more efficiency into the metering aspect of the sector. And so we started with first licensing importers, licensing installers, and manufacturers. And so what NEC seeks to do by this new regulation is further to deregulate and liberalize the metering sector. Today, we have the distribution company sector that is coupled. So the distribution company is both a retail provider, retailer, as well as a distributor. The part of the sector is that going forward, there will be a unbundling of the distribution sector by having perhaps independent retailers, sellers of power, different from the distributor of power. And so one of the important components of that unbundling is metering. And so this new regulation seeks to now remove metering significantly from the monopoly and the control of the distribution company. So by having certified meter service providers, we're getting to a building block to getting the sector unbundled from the distribution sector, so that you have choice, so that people's services can be unlocked or disconnected from the wired business, which is the business of transport, of carrying power, and the business of service provision, metering, billing can be handled by other persons. So I think it's really another attempt to try to see if we can really deal with this dragon in the room, which is the fact that people are not being metered, and both the financial problem, both the logistic problem, and even the lack of significant incentive on the part of the discos to really take metering as the most important aspect of their business.
Right. But it's all well and good on paper, but will it work practically? I guess that is the concern. There's a lot of skepticism around that. What's your view? Do you think that the building blocks are in place for this to work?
Well, I think there should be reasonable skepticism. For example, capacity building. Sometimes regulation could be responding to a problem without first theorizing or understanding properly the capacity, the original crisis before the regulator. So, for example, I would doubt if we have all the capacity, those who are going to apply to the meter providers, do they really have capacity to provide these meters? You don't have capacity to provide meters. For example, some of the manufacturers who I made the local content law for, today they don't have the capacity to really roll out meters in a sufficient number. So the meters, we have complaints of meters that are proper, bad meters that are tampered, that kind of cheat the customers, or that kind of lead to revenue linkage. So I see a myriad of logistic problems, lack of capacity, both from the financial point of view, both from the logistic administrative point of view. So essentially, I think we need to really move cautiously, optimistically, but cautiously. So there'll be a problem. Capacity will grow over time, and if the regulator and the ministry and the operators are working together and strongly, they can ramp up capacity and remedy some of the areas. But really, there's need to worry whether we are all fit for purpose, we're ready to go. I think there's need for some degree of cynicism around the capacity of the sector to deliver all the promises of this new initiative.
Right. Fixing the distribution company challenges is obviously a big part of making power available in Nigeria. Overall, how will you assess the progress we're making in that respect? I was hearing today, for instance, that there are some new power plants that may come on board shortly and with the capacity to provide as much as over 1,000 megawatts of electricity. The big challenge with that is that a lot of that electricity is unable to get into the grid. Do you get the sense that we're making significant progress?
I don't think we're making significant, depending on how you call significant. I think these power plants were built even before we left office. They were at different stage of completion. So it's like, this is the way I put it. This morning I read the story and I was thinking about it. I said, look, I don't see any, leap forward. I don't see much leap forward. What I see is that some of these things are things that would have come on board maybe pretty sooner or later based on the way we are going before. I want to see much more bigger progress. That's one. Two, you talked about the distribution constraints. Before I left, I had a task force to deal with that, and we are making some progress. So really, we are not too far away from where we were. We're not much far away from where we were in 2015. The minister talked about incremental power, which is what it would have been if we didn't have a regime change. So we need more than that. We need to make sure that as we are happy to have additional 1,500 megawatts coming from a much delayed and much badly managed NIP project. Clearly, this project was set in 2005 with the hope that by 2010 we would have harvested the first 4,700. And by 2010 to 2015, we would have had the second phase completed. So really, nothing to cheer about NIP coming on board, some of them coming on board now, whether for the previous government or for the new one. We really lost time. And so the real thing is that, look, we are not making much progress. Let's put it that way. It's good that things are not worse off, in my view. It's not worse off than it was in 2015, but it's not much improved as it was in 2015.
Right, so we want you to look forward to that transformational impact of the reforms. Thanks so much for speaking to us this morning. Sam Amadi is the former chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulation Commission.